Philadelphia Eagles have one of the deepest and most talented defensive lines in the entire NFL in 2026, my friend. And it is exactly that depth that is letting the organization make a quiet, extremely patient bet on the most intriguing player on the entire roster. A player who has never played a single game of American football in his entire life. A player who had never even put on a helmet before this spring. A player who came from a different continent, from a different sport, and who is trying to learn, at 21 years old, from scratch. A game that most of his teammates have played since childhood. And the most interesting part of all is that the Eagles' defensive line coach sent repeated messages to Howie Roseman during the draft itself, practically bothering the GM, just to make sure the franchise did not let this player slip away. Who is this player? Why are the Eagles willing to be so patient with him? And what does this story have in common with one of the greatest success stories of the Roseman era? I am going to explain why this could be one of the most fascinating bets on the entire Eagles roster for years to come, even if it produces absolutely nothing in 2026. But first, if you are a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because this is exactly the kind of behind-the-scenes story that shows how this organization thinks in time frames that go far beyond a single season. This player's name is Uar Bernard, a 21-year-old Nigerian defensive tackle, selected by the Eagles with the 251st overall pick of the 2026 draft in the 7th round through the NFL's International Player Pathway program, created specifically to identify international athletes with rare physical potential but no background whatsoever in American football. Bernard stands 6'4", weighs 306 pounds, carries just 6% body fat, and has arms measuring roughly 36 inches long, numbers that, according to defensive line coach Clint Hurtt himself, impressed practically every team in the league that tested him. He ran a 4.63-second 40-yard dash, posted a 39-inch vertical jump, and a 10-foot 10-inch broad jump, elite-level athleticism for a man his size. But the most important detail in this entire story is not athletic. It is that Bernard had never put his hands on an American football field before this year. The way the Eagles got to Bernard reveals just how much Clint Hurtt believed in this player. During the draft itself, Hurtt was so insistent that he publicly admitted he was worried about annoying Howie Roseman with text messages, repeating, over and over throughout the process, that it would be really cool to land this player. On the morning of day 3 of the draft, Hurtt gave a passionate speech in the Eagles' draft room, describing Bernard as an explosive, violent, heavy-handed kid with a massive ceiling. And before that, Hurtt had personally traveled to Florida to test Bernard in person, becoming, in fact, the first coach among 12 teams scheduled to run the same workout. What impressed Hurtt most was not just the athleticism, but the behavior. Bernard showed up to a workout scheduled to start at 9 in the morning, already sweating, and ready to go at 7:45. And every time he made a mistake on a drill during the workout, he immediately asked to run it again. It was that combination of rare physical talent with genuine work ethic that convinced Hurtt to put his own credibility inside the organization on the line for this player. And here is the detail that makes this story even more special for anyone who has followed the Eagles for years. This is not the first time the organization has made exactly this kind of bet. In 2018, the Eagles selected in the 7th round of the draft an Australian rugby player named Jordan Mailata, a massive athlete who had also never played American football before arriving in the NFL. Jeff Stoutland, the Eagles' offensive line coach, had to cancel a golf trip with friends when Roseman called demanding he go to Florida to test Mailata in person. Stoutland knew within minutes that it was worth spending a 7th-round pick on that player. The result, years later, is well-known history. Mailata became an absolute fixture at starting left tackle for the Eagles, was named 2nd-team All-Pro in 2024, and was a foundational piece of the Super Bowl Lines championship. But the road there was not fast. Mailata needed 3 entire seasons of development before being thrown into a starting role in 2020, when a Jason Peters injury forced the Eagles' hand ahead of schedule, after the original plan, which involved then first-round pick Andre Dillard, fell apart when Dillard tore his biceps during training camp. The good news for Bernard is that he has exactly the kind of context Mailata had, an interior defensive line already settled and deep enough to let him learn without any pressure. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, and Byron Young are already the 4 locked-in names in the Eagles' primary interior defensive tackle rotation for 2026. players we have already discussed in detail in previous videos on this channel. That means Bernard does not need to compete for real snaps this season. He only needs to compete for the 5th or 6th interior tackle spot on the 53-man roster, and even there, his most direct competitors are Ty Robinson, a 4th-round pick from 2025, and Gabe Hall, an undrafted free agent who has already spent a full year inside the system. There is also Zion Wilson, another undrafted free agent who received one of the largest signing bonuses in the Eagles' entire 2026 rookie class, a sign the organization also sees real potential in him, even though he is a more polished player than Bernard at this exact moment. The support Bernard is receiving inside the locker room itself also tells an important story. Jordan Davis, the leader of the Eagles' interior tackle group, highlighted the natural connection between Bernard and Moro Ojomo. Not by coincidence, since Ojomo was also born in Nigeria, even though he moved to the United States as a child, at 8 years old, decades before Bernard reached the league through a completely different path. Bernard also has another point of support inside the roster, Joshua Weru, an outside linebacker from Kenya, also undrafted, who went through the same international program and trained alongside Bernard in Florida before the draft. According to Davis, Bernard is fitting in well with the group, keeping his own identity while absorbing the room's culture. Bernard, for his part, has already described Hurtt as a father figure to him and said he misses Nigerian food, but has already found versions of it in Philadelphia. According to the player himself, every piece of advice Hurtt gives him is helpful, and he feels grateful to be part of one of the best defensive line groups in the entire league. Here is the bottom line. Bernard will likely have at least this entire season to learn the game without any real pressure to produce, with Moro Ojomo entering a contract year and potentially leaving as a free agent after 2026, and with Ty Robinson's future inside the organization still uncertain. There is a real possibility a spot opens up in the primary rotation as early as 2027. Jordan Davis is locked in long-term, and Jalen Carter is expected to receive a contract extension at some point soon, as we already discussed in detail in a previous video. That leaves the door slightly open for Bernard, especially if he makes good use of the next 12 months of quiet development alongside Hurtt. But the difference compared to Mailata is clear. Bernard likely will not get 3 full seasons of patience. His leash is going to be shorter. With a raw 21-year-old athlete learning the game from scratch inside one of the deepest defensive lines in the NFL, with a coach who already staked his own credibility on him during the draft itself, and with the direct parallel to Jordan Mailata's success story hanging over this entire project, the question left for you, Eagles fan, is direct. Do you believe Uar Bernard can repeat Mailata's trajectory and become a relevant starter on the Eagles' defensive line in the coming years? Or is the path to professional football simply too long for a player who started from zero at 21 years old? Drop your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to keep you updated with the latest Eagles news.